Good morning. All right. Write your own story in your own words. That was the assignment my graduate advisor gave me. I was struggling with the belief that my Blackness was worthy, denying myself permission to recognize the beauty in my own story. Deep down inside, I knew there was only one way to get to that place of permission and create meaningful work. I had to validate myself. The more I wrote, the more I found myself wanting to share, until one day I realized, hey, this messy and beautiful stuff, it's mine. And finally gave myself permission to be. The writing fueled a drive to further explore my personal narrative and respond through making and design. And from that, my thesis was born. Little Brown Girl is a series of essays, personal stories, and the work that reflects subject matters of hair, skin, and self-love as a Black woman in America. What I'm sharing with you this morning is a result of my journey to finding and expressing my own voice through design and other forms of visual communication. This Skin I'm In discusses the origin and history and effects of colorism, an internal form of racism that explores what it means to be judged by one's own race by the lightness and darkness of skin, measuring one's skin against the lightness of a brown paper bag, and understanding how these practices have lingering effects today. I asked several people to share their personal experiences with colorism, and they submitted a selfie with a personal story about the lightness and darkness of their skin. Some commented about shame, some expressed deep pride, while others admitted they were still a work in progress. With their permission, their stories, the stories and faces of these men and women and children became part of the exhibition. The next section, Better Than Good Hair, reveals the complex emotional struggle and celebration of Black women's hair. I share my personal journey in the struggle to love and accept my hair no matter what state she's in. During my research, I read about a practice using combs to determine the level of goodness and hair texture. Black establishments would hang fine-tooth combs at the door as a reminder that only those with white hair texture were welcome. The comb tree is my response in recognizing the sad cruelty of this practice, as well as appreciating the resilience and strength and legacy of Black hair. So how does graphic design play a role in all of this? Look at the product and beauty ads. Sorry, there's supposed to be sound. Look at the product and ads and beauty and fashion industries. For years, these advertisements have preyed on Black women's insecurities about their hair and skin, telling us that you're only beautiful and acceptable if you look white. Loving Blackness is my manifesto, my personal call to loving without apology. While loving one's own Blackness is personal, this act of self-declaration is often viewed as a political choice. The words in this section address how I feel about my own definition of Blackness, what I accept and ultimately reject as a Black woman. One of the greatest lessons I've learned is that I'm not here to make anyone feel comfortable about my existence. I'm aware what my influence as a woman of color could mean when I'm designing, hiring interns, teaching, and presenting. That little brown girl is always with me. I recently presented my work on colorism at the University of Oklahoma. I asked the students to examine how their own personal narrative could influence the way they approach design. One student was struggling with how to design as a Black woman. Let you read it. Unlike their white counterparts, students of color also struggle with the expectation of having to leave their heritage at the sketchpad. And this student struggled with how to use her influence as a white woman to combat colorism, bias, and stereotypes in design. So how should we address the needs of a future designer? We should recognize identity, embrace inclusion, and address inclusion and embrace student-centered learning, and encourage personal narratives. So listen up, I'm inviting you to learn more about my work on my site, aldrena.com. There you can download my thesis and contact me about exhibition, speaking, or workshop opportunities. So if you want to continue this conversation with me, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at aldrenaim. Thank you.